Hello everyone, welcome to our Let's Play series of Queen's Wish. This is Colonel RPG as usual, and I'm very happy that you're chose to join me today, after we chatted with Cody and Oscar. Woof, period, says Oscar. We got a potion, which was pretty good. We are in, well, let's actually remind myself where we are. The Volgates, well, it's the Southern Battalion Detachment. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember. We found where we need to be, but not 100% sure what the name of this place is. Maybe that's gonna tell us over there. How not to get hit, a tactical guide. I probably would benefit from something like this. The military of Haven is rich in healers of both the magical and non-magical variety. However, the power of even the most skilled healer cannot keep up with the damage a skilled opponent can dish out. That is why Haven's units should find ways to prevent their opponents from attacking at all. For physical warriors, attacks with stunning and knockback can prevent foes from striking you. For magicians, terror and slowing effects can save you from much suffering. Summoned allies can keep your foes at a distance. The infamous shockwave spell can prevent entire groups from attacking. Finally, if you are lucky enough to recruit an Ahriel mage, you can gain the ability to charm your foes. This can be devastating. You know what's devastating? Is that there's an infamous... I said infamous. Infamous shockwave spell, and I do not use it because I'm an idiot. That's basically it. Let's have a chat with General Aquila over here. You meet a General of Haven. Her armor bears rows of decorations, speaking of service that all over the known lands. Her skin is deeply tan and leathery, and she isn't bothered at all by the baking sun shining on her, because they are in the desert, but they don't have tents or roofs, which I was sort of being facetious before, when we had just arrived. For all I know, they could be, this could be the outside, much like the camps that we visit in other places. This shouldn't be outside, though. This should very much be a dungeon or something, or a tent. When she looks at you, she is hard to read. She has been fighting battles for many years, yet she is bound to almost whatever you say. She stands and sizes you up and then kneels. I am General Aquila. Welcome, Prince, to the South Battalion. There it is. That's the name. Battalion. We are ready to fight. Report, General. Aquila gives you a little nod, like she's quietly judging you. Which sounds like she approves of what she means, because that's how you nod. Because there's the nod, and then there's the... when you say no? You don't nod no, you nod yes, but you don't... What's the... shake your head? There's a name for it, I think. And she says, we have made camp and secure the area. We are close to opening the gate into the fortress. When it is open, you will have access to the wall. We took some arrow fire when we arrived, but we dealt with that decisively. And then she rises and takes her seat. So they attacked us? There were some brigands in the fort when we arrived, the sort of parasites that always appears in a war. They fired arrows at our scouts when they arrived. We blasted the windows with mage fire, quickly evened out the situation. And what is happening in the Vol? Rebellion. We learned that much from Vol on the roads during the march here. The Masha's hold on the Vol and their Owen was unstable when the calamity happened and Haven left. In our absence, the Owen entered full rebellion. Well, it sounds like we should back them then. The Masha and the Owen, we know about this a little bit, but it's a good opportunity to remind ourselves of it. And she says, the Masha are the rich, the owners and masters. The Owen are people who fall too far into debt. They make up for it by signing their lives away to serve a Masha. Queen Shireen valued this vassal. They're very profitable for us. She helped the Masha keep power in return for gold and stone. So the Owen are slaves. Also, it's not like she paints it. This would be slave for sure, but there's a tenuous distinction between indentured servitude and slavery. It's very tenuous and it doesn't really matter. This one in particular here is does bear mentioning that the kids also get sold, and the kids also are born into slavery. If the the debt is high enough, and they have like even tattoos to mention it and or to make it. Although it's important to remind ourselves that our empire sided with the slavers, so maybe they have their own whitewashed version of what is going on, and I think that's what she's about to say. I'm gonna say the word slaves, and she's gonna be like, oh, "Don't say slaves." Let's see. Maybe she's not. Who knows? There it is. She does. She says that. I would not use that word in the Vol. The Owen hate it because they still have their pride. It's not the first time we hear that sentence, even though it doesn't make much sense. But anyway, even if they lost their freedom. Oh no, the Owen. Right. Sorry. Not the Vol, not the people from the Vol, just in general, but specifically the Owen. Oh yeah, that excuse. They still have their pride, so they don't like the fact that they're reminded of their enslavement. They're just, no, don't say that. I mean, we wouldn't want people to realize that we're slaves, would we? What would happen next? A rebellion? I suppose that's what's happening. And she says the Masha hate it because it makes them seem like what they are. Yeah. Is everyone in the Vol an Owen or a Masha? Or rather, one of the two? No, she says, many in the Vol don't own an Owen and are not poor enough to be an Owen. However, since Haven left, also, debt is not about being poor. That's also, I think I'm rehashing my points when we first learned of the Owens. Objectively speaking, you can get into debt, and if you're rich, maybe it's just, you get yourself into a lot of debt. Or maybe you just don't want to sell your assets. Maybe that's all that it is. Maybe you have a house. And you know what? I'd rather be an Owen, because I still have my pride, quote unquote. So I'm not going to sell my house, but I'm gonna sell myself, and I'm going to become an Owen. And that actually would make a lot of sense in a country that doesn't see, the whole country doesn't see this as slavery, which I find it very hard to believe. But whatever, the developers wrote that it is what it is. But yeah, they wouldn't be the poor. They would be the people who had debt. And, well, actually, now that I think about it, it would make a lot of sense if that were the case. Something like, I'm trying to think of the situations, of a specific situation in the Roman Kingdom. This was, I think, commonplace in the 4th and 5th century BC, or rather the other way around, because it's BC, BCE rather. So the 5th and the 4th century, because it works the other way around. And I think it was pretty common for people who had land, who owned land, but were stuck to it. They even had a name for it. They basically could not leave the land for the specific legal reason. I don't remember exactly why. I do remember it sort of messed with their it wasn't their voting rights so much, because there wasn't voting, but it was, I don't know if it was in the Republic though. I think it was before. I think it was at around the 5th century BCE. But I think basically it meant that they couldn't participate in the public debate for laws and all that sort of stuff because they couldn't leave the land. And there were other richer people that owned land. I think it was something like that. There was some nonsense like that. I say nonsense because it was a very bureaucratic thing that I remember learning about, and I don't remember the details. But can you imagine if you were too, like, in that situation, if you didn't even own land, you couldn't become an indentured slave or a slave to the land, because that's what they were. So you were too poor to be a slave. So that undermines it even more. This fantasy world where we're pretending that the slaves are the poor, which it is the case because we're saying that outright. But in reality, this probably wouldn't happen. Probably richer people would be Owen as well, and some poorer people. I say some richer people would be Owen as well, and some poorer people wouldn't be Owen. Especially with this thing about debt, because like you can be poor and have no debt, depending on the country that you live. And yeah, it's just. Even that notion of debt, I ramble about all the things, I'm so sorry. Even the notion of debt has to do with another very specific cultural thing, Debt doesn't exist if there is no money. No, actually it does. I'm just thinking about a financial debt, obviously, no, which is where I was sort of thinking of. So yeah, debt can exist without money, obviously. So maybe that's where they're coming from. It could be, maybe, but I don't think so because we have money all over. We have the money in our inventory. However, she says, let's stop rambling. Since Haven left, the Masha have grown richer and richer and forced more and more of the people to become Owen. You see what I mean? How there's so many things that don't make sense? How do you force them to become Owen? You're like, oh, yeah, I want you to take money from me. Or, I don't know, honey. Because very expensive honey in the desert. Honey should be very expensive everywhere. The free folk are scared and thus rebelling. Oh, you're pretending that the free folk are rebelling. Not the Owen. I mean, that would make sense because the Owen are too scared, too proudful, or too proud to even mention their current situation. They're like, no, I'm not a slave. No, I don't want insurrection. No, don't talk about that. What should I do? The Vol has a treaty with us. You may read a copy nearby. They promised us land, trade, and tribute. They stopped giving it after the calamity. The Queen wants what our people are owed. So, who sent you here? She sits up straight and proud. I was nearing retirement, but then Queen Shireen summoned me. She personally selected me for this mission as she valued the Vol as vassals so much. She also, I believe, wanted the best here to advise and serve you. She thought my unworthy self was the best choice. Well, I'm not my mother. I'm a prince, and I will do what I see fit. General Aquila is appropriately chastened. I don't want chastened. How do you pronounce? She's been chastised, I believe, is even the correct way of writing that. I believe that's what it means. I'm not sure. And she says, "Of course, Prince. I am sorry if I seem too familiar. I've never met you before. I'm so sorry. I have a lot of advice for how to pacify a rebellious vassal. A lot of experience. I hope you will honor me by listening. South Battalion is here, eager to get to work." Why were you sent to Sacramentum? I ask in a bit of I was reading this to see if it's the same thing that I just asked before. She says, Queen Shireen wanted the soldiers sent to the Vol to have a strong leader. Normally a general doesn't command a mere battalion, but this is a very special case. She values the Vol. I'm sure she does, being the emperor, and these people having slaves. That sounds like it goes hand in hand. Have you a long record? I do. She rattles off a list of vassals, rebellions, conquests, and victories taking place on all the continents of the known world, stretching back to before you were born. You managed to look like you were paying attention through the whole thing. And you weren't, because I probably would ramble about all the things. And actually, it makes sense that I would ramble about all the details, is what I mean to say. No, I wouldn't. Because it makes sense to do it like this, because it doesn't really matter. It's not... No, these details are not, they don't matter for the game, right? They're not, oh, I went to this name of a land, and fought these name of a people, and then I met this name of a person, and stuff like that, and all those names don't matter, because they're not going to take part in this game. So it makes sense that this works like this. Tell me more about you. I am a soldier of Haven. You start to ask for some elaboration, but you decide against it. So you pause midway through asking. She is a private person. No, she's a military. She's in the military. She's not a private person. Or maybe her job... It's not, I'm just kidding. On the double meaning of private there. Not even... That's, I could even kid on the triple meaning of private and say, oh, no, she's a general, no less. No. Private person can mean just somebody who's unaffiliated with the state machine. But it also means somebody who's sort of, secluded and things. Or not secluded, but sort of private. Or maybe her job is all of her identity. Oh, so how do you know? How do I know? Okay, I don't know how I know that she's a private person. I guess maybe I don't. What do you think of the Vol? I'm gonna ask. And she says, a wealthy, prosperous people. Apart from, I imagine, half of them that are poor and not prosperous at all, because they don't earn the sweat on their back even, which are the Owen. It's an interesting name, Owen, because it kind of sounds like the ode. You are owed something. I don't know. Very honor bound, apart from the fact that they're slavers. Very serious. Again, with the word serious, I imagine it means, I really do imagine it means stern. There is much to admire in them. That is why the queen gave them favored status, I am sure. A pity about their current rebellion. Fortunately, such weakness tends to work to the advantage of Haven. Well, what do you think of the Owen and the Masha? Yeah, you sort of left them out of my question about the people of the Vol. I mean, not really. The Masha, she talked about the Masha mostly. The Masha are wealthy and vulnerable, thus making them very useful to Haven. But she repeats herself. The Owen have proven to be competent warriors, and they feel theirs is the moral cause. This can make them useful allies as well. Do they feel that, on account of them not wanting to be known as slaves? Which side? I will put that to a test. I will absolutely put that to the test to see if they talk like slaves who don't want to call themselves slaves and acknowledge that they are slaves. I'm betting it's all lip service over here. I'm betting they're gonna be like, no, this sucks. I do want them killed. The monsters should die. And I'm gonna be like, okay, well, I guess. But we'll see. Which side would you help if you could choose? I'm gonna ask. And she says, you are trying to trick me into making a moral judgment. You have been lady, you've been doing moral judgments since I arrived, including when the game explicitly said that you were judging me, and I didn't understand what you exactly were. You just nodded at me, but still, that everything we've been talking about is about morality. It's not, we're not talking about laws or anything. Also, because it would be weird because they're a different country. So, like, I mean, apart from the matter of fact stuff that she tells me, which is not a judgment at all, of course. She says, I've seen too many vassals and allies for that. I've seen lands full of cruelty and bizarre practices that can be shocking. See? Moral judgment. That's that one right there. What is she referring to? People who cook lettuce? That's the bizarre practice. People who sing at night? That's the cruelty. Could be. I don't know. Depends on what moral judgment she's making. But what I do know is that she is making a moral judgment. For me, she says, the Masha and Owen are just two groups of screaming warriors. Moral judgment. They're annoying. That's just a personal opinion, really. But potentially useful. That's a moral judgment. The fact that, it just sort of ties into the beginning. They're just that. That's necessarily moral. Oh boy, I do understand what she comes from. What she's trying to do. She's like, I'm a general. I don't make decisions, which I can respect well enough. Even though that's not true to life, because generals make decisions, moral decisions, in fact. I think I asked this already. Oh, no. I think I asked about the Vulgates. And she says, the Owen have taken them, I believe. They think that we are coming to help the Masha crush their rebellion. Okay, so is it the Owen? You see, when you start mixing your themes and creating many caveats to try and avoid... I don't even know why the writing is like this and trying to avoid certain things. But it is quite clearly trying to avoid certain things. You sort of... The free folk got nervous and rebelled, and now she says the Owen are afraid that we are coming to crush their rebellion. That is a contradiction to what you said. The Owen aren't a free folk. But the reason why this contradiction exists is because I think that it's just trying to make the lines work together. The ones that come after the other. Those need to work together the most. This one, sort of, that's whatever. It's only if you're going to be a pedantic jerk like me that you're really going to notice this stuff. Then, of course, she also could be just misspeaking for all I know, which also makes sense. They are, and that's why I said specifically that it could be lip service, and not just a plot hole or anything, because it's just her saying the things. They're foolishly trying to keep us out. The Owen. When they're gone, I trust the Owen are. I trust the gates will be empty and ready for the Vol to return. Are we here to help the Masha crush the rebellion? That is up to you, she says. When you have a treaty in place in the Vol, I will accept your orders to enforce it. Do you think it will be restaffed in time? The gate, I mean. Of course, trade with Haven is very, very profitable. Many in the Vol will want it resumed once the war has ended. Many. I'm sure many will. As in, 10 people is many people. For all we know, that's just how many people want that. I would like advice about taming the Vol. Of course. Queen Shireen selected me because my expertise might be useful. Based on my past campaigns, I can describe the steps those in your position usually follow to get a vassal to obey a treaty they signed. You are, however, the prince. It will be your decision whether to take my humble advice or not. Okay, how should I begin? We can do nothing until we can re-enter the Vol. Our vassal has sealed the gates. This is an intolerable insult to Haven. Moral judgment, moral judgment. My mages are working to break open the entry gate. Once it is open, you will be able to pass through the and enter the Vol, which is pretty much what happened with the other place as well. So I'm expecting mages to break open all the entrances for every one of the 3 states. Who's inside the fort? Brigands, I believe. Moral judgment, moral judgment. Robbers, moral, and other parasites again. See, this is what I mean. That's what I mean. She's just that's her dialogue, through and through. Which, I mean, fair enough. It's just that it's the weak cop-out when you're like... It's not really character defining, is what I mean to say. She's actively copping out of a question that I asked her when she says, it's not up to me. It's not actually defining of her character. The Vol abandoned this fort, so they took it over. Took over it. That's... yeah. Break the door open and took over it. Our scouts say they have left all sorts of traps inside. Your mother, the queen, assured me that you would be fully equipped to deal with them. Oh yeah, I'm fully equipped. We're good. What if some Vol attack me though? It will be your decision, she says. If I were you, however, I would respond to any attack with instant, overwhelming, decisive force. Why am I going through anyway? You have all the soldiers. Or why am I the one going through, I ask, and she, for once, looks nervous. The queen gave me orders. They were very clear. Until you have a treaty in place with some force in the Vol, and until I can use my limited force to decisively enforce it, I am not to cross the border. I only have 300 soldiers. That's not enough to pacify all of the Vol. Not unless you can find us an ally in their lands. Also pacify. Sure. Sure, that's it for now. Thank you very much. I do want to talk... I don't want to see what the... That's not the thing... Right. There is an explosion to the south. A pair of Haven wizards have unleashed a formidable wave of raw energy, also known as a fireball. Moments later, bars of the iron gate start to twist, creating a wide opening. They walk off happily, satisfied with the job well done. The way into the Vol gates, and thus the Vol, is open. You jerks, you scared the crap out of me. I was gonna read the treaty. I don't think there is a treaty, actually. So you open that? Good. Okay. So, let's just go over here. Did Rusty here just say, I may read the books? Oh, there it is. I'm sorry, it's hard to see. Treaty of Vassalage between Haven and the Vol, year 459. Here is outlined the vassalage contract between the mighty Empire of Haven and the Vol, between King Kale of Haven and the Council of elected representatives of the Vol Masha. Haven declares that the Vol is a favored vassal with all protections included. An attack on the Vol is an attack on us. Thieves and rebels in the Vol are an offense to Haven and will be removed. The same considerations as the other vassalage treaty that we read before, because basically this line over here gives full discretion to the Empire to decide that the Masha are, quote, thieves and rebels. and so they need to be removed. Full trade between our powers is guaranteed. By whom? Nobody knows. As this is all very shaky, which is as probably is the case, and very historically accurate as well. Well, I guess not necessarily very historically accurate. I like to think that the people were really rubbish at law in like even 500 years ago. That's not quite the case. Maybe 1,000 years ago they would be a little bit more, but they weren't dumb a lot of the time. As the Vol, so they would write things that are, I don't know, maybe. It's quite clearly a vassalage treaty made from a position of power from the Empire. As the Vol is favored, it will receive all due benefits in conflicts between it and other states of Sacramentum, which what, you tolerate that? I mean, pragmatically speaking, this would be a null clause because all other states of Sacramentum are part of the Empire, so there will be no conflict. Haven will also help the Vol to quell any rebellion of the class commonly known as Vol-Owen. The first time we're actually hearing that word, Vol-Owen, and you're telling me that they're commonly known as Vol-Owen, but you're not actually telling me their real name. Also the class. Love it. In return, the Vol grants Haven full movement in their territories and full consultation of any political matters. Land for 2 forts will be provided for Haven, and the Vol will protect the security of these lands. This agreement will last as long as Haven and the Vol exist as independent peoples. Again, with the same considerations to be had that once the Vol becomes a vassal, it's not independent anymore, which means that this agreement is null and void. So, but of course, I haven't heard them claim that from the vassals. They haven't said anything to that extent, which would be a cool thing. But anyway, so agreed in sacred bond by both parties in a year in the past. An introduction to the Vol. The Vol is a rocky mountainous land in the southwest corner of Sacramentum. The Vol people are builders and stoneworkers, makers of massive halls and imposing fortresses. The Vol are not aggressive warriors, preferring instead the safety of their mountain keeps. Their merchants and builders roam all over the continent. For Haven, the Volmasha, the owners in Volish... Oh, Volish is the language? Volmasha, it means owners. Provided... The Volmasha provided luxurious stone goods for Haven. I think that's what that sentence means. Fine carving, semi-precious stones, because they hoarded all the precious ones, and polished marble. Haven's ships carried these Vol goods to the known land and sold them at a great profit. Considering, of course it was a great profit. They were given. So, it's like, no, they were provided. I suppose it's not necessarily given, but it kind of feels like they were given. In return, Haven provided military aid. See, it sounds like it's given military aid to help the Volmasha maintain their unstable nation. This was necessary because the Vol-Owen, those who owe lifetime servitude to the Volmasha, constantly threaten to rebel. They don't rebel, and they threaten to rebel. Why would they do that? If they don't like being known as slaves? Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure they do. But no, I need to talk to Spiky over here. Or Rusty. We're out of time for the day, so we're going to need to talk to Rusty next episode. I just now looked at the clock. So that's going to be that for right now. I'm Colonel RPG, and this has been Queen's Wish, with me rambling about a lot of things. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to leave a comment, like the video if you want to see the next episode come out sooner rather than later. But above all, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next episode. Bye-bye.